morning and welcome back to Tarot Tats and Tea with me, Elaine. Today I've decided to create a video on items I received in the post, and they're just all tarot based, but I've also chose to look deeper into art of a particular deck by looking at Swedish folklore and fairy tales. Now, the deck that I'm going to show you today was shown by Becca on Becca Talks and Tarot, and I thought, oh, I really like that. And I have to be honest, not so much for the tarot, but for the art, and to delve further into the artworks of, here we go, keeping it in my new Peggy bag, John Bauer Tarot. Okay, so the John Bauer Tarot is a lovely deck, and until I had seen it on Becca's channel, I hadn't paid this deck too much attention. I'm going to read a little bit from the LWB and just tell you a tiny bit of John Bauer. The John Bauer Tarot celebrates the art of John Bauer, a Swedish painter and illustrator. He was born in 1882 and passed away in 1918. He incorporated fantastical landscapes and mythology into his art, creating a vast, dreamy body of work. Among his favourite subjects to paint were the landscapes of his home country, the folklore of Europe, and the interplay between the two. Amazingly, each piece of art Bauer created started off as a tiny sketch, and then expanded out with each iteration to fit the canvases he painted on. He didn't have a favoured method, instead using whatever was at hand during the time. During his career, Bauer painted over 1,000 works of art, many of which can be seen in museums and galleries all over the world today. This deck selects images or parts of the paintings Bauer created to assemble a tarot deck that is meant to be used and enjoyed for its artistic value. As you go through each image, allow it to spark a conversation between you and the meaning. And then this follows the meanings of the cards. And what I like about it is that, albeit we have our basic tarot card meaning from the RWS system, it gives it a little tweak here and there. For instance, let's look at strength. A young girl wears a crown. She's bent forward and kisses a large bear on its nose. The bear seems startled at the kind gesture, meaning a moment of kindness, taming the unknown, and the courage to take a chance. It's all seeing the message within the artwork and creating a correlation between the two, as we do with all decks. But the John Bauer Tarot really pulled me in because of the beautiful aesthetics of the artwork. So let's have a quick look through the deck, and then I'll show you a book that I decided to invest in order to discover more about John Bauer and his artwork, predominantly his artwork. So here we have, the backs are lovely. That's what drew me initially, but then I saw the artwork. Here we have a young person chomping away on what looks like a piece of cake or bread with no cares or worries, stopping for a little picnic en route to his or her destination or to continue adventures. Here we have the magician. A bee just flown in the house. Could that mean I'm going to get a visitor? That's what we say. Do you say anything like that if you have a bee or a bumblebee fly in your house? It's a sign of an unexpected visitor. Look at this. Isn't this image beautiful? The hair reminds me of Rapunzel. Oh gosh, now Empress, look at that. At one with nature. That's really a beautiful image. Here we go. Oh, this is lovely. In fact, I think I've seen this image in the very beginning of the book. I might be mistaken, but I will check it out. I'm just going to put that to one side so that we can see. I've not looked right through the book. I literally just picked it up and just glanced at it last night. Today is really our first visit to this book. This one here, the Chariot, it really does. Not only does it look like the Chariot, you've got our little person there on the back of well, what would we call it? Let's have a look what this beast of burden is called here. The Chariot. A young boy sits on top of a pack creature. It moves forward through a snowy landscape unrestrained. The critter has many packs on it, meaning allowing something else to guide you. Moving forward, trust the path, even when you cannot see it. Which would be a little bit of a twist on our Chariot, where we are in the driving seat, we're on a path of our own making, choosing out the destination we're going and letting nothing stand in our way. Whereas this is just allowing the vehicle to take you to places anew and just trusting in that journey. Here we have the Strength card that I was talking about earlier on. Our Hermit here is very different again. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? What's it say about our Hermit here? We'll have a look at that one. A young maiden stares out into a starry night. She wears a green laurel with 7 white candles. Their flames burn high into the air, meaning trust in your own knowledge, being prepared for the next step, and ready to lead the charge. Isn't that lovely though? Look at that. The artwork is phenomenal. And to think that Bauer never actually had one particular method, that he would have used any materials that he had at hand. And if we go back to this one here, the wheel, look at the wheel. The wheel is created up of a lot of different people. It's like they're being herded or directed by sort of a god on high, so to speak. Justice looks very different, and I don't know if you can see that clearly. This here, we have a young boy looking up at an old hag sitting atop a big rocky sort of precipice, and let's see what it says. A young boy stands before a hag. She sits on a stone and runs her long hands through her hair. Should that be her hands through her long hair? They seem to be conversing over something, meaning bring your world into balance, be fair and kind to others. It's time to make a choice. It's very nice. Then we have the hanged person, and this one's hanging out of a tree. Now the next card is the Death card, and this must be one of the most peaceful looking and most beautiful death cards I have come across. I'm going to show you the image first. I will tell you what I get from it, and then I'll read the meaning, because it's quite stunning. Now, when I looked at this, to me, it looked like, well, almost like 2 sisters holding an urn each, possibly of parents who have passed. They've been taken. And when my father passed, we had a star named after him. And like that, it looks like they are acknowledging the passing, that there is now a change in their lives, that they are going to have to try and manage independently, but the strength of the person who's passed is watching over them from above and will assist them with their change. That maybe this person, that death had to knock on their door and take something in order for them to go on independently, in order for them to move to the next stage of their time here on earth. Making changes, accepting change, keeping aspects of change with you, because I saw these as urns, so that's keeping something from the past, letting go, accepting changes, but having that reminder there that this was how it was, but this is now how it's going to be. Let's see what the book says. Death. Two maidens stand in opposition. Each holds a barrel in their hand. They seem to be offering for the night skies. They seem to be offerings for the night sky, which can be viewed from their doorway, meaning reverence for the experience. The unknown is closer than you think. Transformation from one side to another. And yes, I can see the transformation from one side to another. We're looking from earth to the sky. But I do feel that, yes, this is a lovely, lovely meaning. But I do feel that we could all take something on a more personal and deeper level from this card. It has an element of sadness to it, yet an element of strength, determination, and are we also looking to... It says two maidens. Could the maiden possibly be looking at a reflection of herself? There's a slight difference in the jars, so maybe not. It is lovely. It's beautiful. And of course, after our death card, we have Temperance. And Temperance here is quite different again. Look at that. Wow. A water creature walking past, concealed by waves. Oh, now we have the Devil. Oh. Isn't that different? If you can see, I'm sorry, the light, it's not just the light, the camera is really cruddy. I'm going to have to, I keep saying I'm going to have to invest in another camera, but never actually get round to it. If I hold it sort of that way, I don't have a phone here, and turn a light onto it for you, shine a light. But it's a sort of a caped creature as opposed to a winged creature. And it looks more elvish than devilish. Almost like an imp. You know, a cheeky imp. Let's see what this says. A black caped creature springs into the air. He wears red clothing and seems to be carrying burdensome amounts of grapes. Some of the fresh fruit drops to the ground below, meaning holding on to too much. Escape from reality, taking it all with you. Which is quite different from what we see usually with our Devil card, that you sort of, you know, it's sort of addictions, it's sort of being trapped in a particular situation, that something there is halting your progression, that you have to break old patterns in order to embrace the new. And with this, it's almost like you are burdening yourself down by carrying too much, and it is time to let some go in order to be able to leap forward. And then we have the Tower. There we go. That tower, this reminds me of Hanging Rock Beach here where I live. And we have a rock that sort of balances like that. And you can actually imagine a lightning bolt hitting it and it tumbling down to the earth. But that tower looks at, should it fall, it might crush what lies beneath. And there we have a person looking up at that tower, looking up at that piece that's possibly going to overbalance and fall. So what does it say? Lightning strikes, illuminating a dark figure who towers over a small boy. The boy standing up to this form, a sword at the waist, meaning conflict is brewing. Stand up for what you want. Remove obstacles in your way. And then we have the star. That reminds me of one of the three wise men following the stars. Oh, he's not on a camel, he's on a giant horse. And what do we have here? The knight rides slumped on the back of his horse. His red cape flows over his back, obscuring any insignia. The light from the star high above is the only source of light, meaning reconnect with your true purpose. Look to the celestial light to steady your path. Slow and steady gets you there. And as that old saying goes in the fairy stories between the tortoise and the hare, slow and steady wins the race. And now we have the moon. And we have an elk carrying a creature, I think. Like what the creature, I'm not quite able to make out what that creature is. I will have to use my magnifying glass to see the details of that. If it's a person, if it's a creature, whatever it is. Let's have a look again. A woman rides side saddle upon a moose. She wears a crown and has long blonde locks obscuring her dress. A crescent moon illuminates the forest path, meaning nothing is as it seems. Look past the illusion. Allow others to help guide you along the way. Now, the Sun card is such a refreshing change. We don't have the child on horseback. We have a young man carrying his burdens in the sunshine, as though, you know, everything's going good. He's making hay while the sun shines. You know, things are looking positive, things are looking up. And, you know, now quite the opposite in a sense in here. Now, that is how I would read this card. I find the sun is, to me, indicates positivity, and I suppose that comes from the fact that I enjoy summer. I love feeling the warm sunshine on my back. You know, I know there are many people who don't particularly enjoy the warm weather, that feel discomfort. I could lie in the sun, go swimming in the sea, walk in the woods. I do adore the sunshine. I love the colour it illuminates. But this particular one, let's have a look. A man walks along a path. His pack weighs heavy on his back. The sun shines brightly, giving life to the wheat growing in the fields behind him. There you go, yes. Be optimistic. You are moving forward with your plans, yes. Good omens be with you. And as I said, making hay while the sun shines. It's really, you can see how I can say that this is such a beautiful deck. Now here, this is our Judgment card. And this reminds me almost of Adam and Eve being judged, because we have one male, one female, and a host of angels there. We don't have our one angel with the trumpet, as we see, and we don't have any bodies rising from the grave. So this is taking ownership of what you've done. You know, maybe making promises to change your ways, that anything that was negative, anything that no longer served you, moving on from that. Or is this a case of saying, well, look, yes, I have done wrong, or my path might not have always been true, but I'm prepared to make changes. Let's have a look. Judgment. A man and woman kneel in front of a chorus of angels. They wear no clothing and seem to be bound by the plants on the ground. The angels grow forth from a single cloud, meaning heed the call of the Spirit, release and bear witness to your surroundings, and embrace the changes of time. Yeah, I can see that. Right. And next we have the World. And again, this is so very different. You know how we see usually in our RWS in the World, there's a woman inside that garland or that wreath. Here we have the woman who's in a forest, and there's water beneath her. So again, she is surrounded by the greenery, and you can almost see that circle with the reflection on the water. Isn't that beautiful? And here it says, a woman dressed in a fancy white and blue dress stares down into a reflection in the water, her red cape giving her warmth. The world around her is balanced and supporting, meaning standing complete among the world, reflecting on where you have been, feeling complete, and giving back to your community. Or even planning the next part of your journey. Reflect on what's been, what is, and what is to come. Isn't that lovely? Now, our minors, our cups are called chalices. I'm just going to go through these. I'm not going to stop and read everything so that we can just have a look as we go. Now, our Ace of Chalice is called our one of chalices. 2, 3, 4, 5. The colours are coming up quite dark on this camera. They are darker images, yet there you can see more detail, the cards in hand, than you can see on this blooming camera. I know Becca used to call a camera that used to give her a lot of problems Swine Cam. I think this must be Swine Cam's brother or sister. Oh, our Eight of Cups or Eight of Chalices looks fairly different. This is one I might have to just have a look at because it's very interesting. So here we have the Eight of Chalices. Now, let me see. I'm going to just try an experiment. Just bear with me. Can you see? I haven't looked at any meaning on this yet. We're going to look at that now, but just have a look here. We have a naked man. Now this, if we were to say refer to biblical stories, this looks like Jesus before the when he was being judged, before he had the crown of thorns put on his head. They stripped him of his clothes, made, humiliated him, as we know from biblical stories. And I don't often like to bring in religion into tarot images, but that's the first thing, as with the Magi earlier on, that has struck me, that albeit these are from pieces of art and not biblical stories, it's the memory of what we've learned through life that we can associate different things to, and this sort of fits in, ties in with biblical stories in that sense. But what is interesting that I can pick up with the naked eye here, and I've noticed you can't see it on there, there's a lot of pencil etchings. Now you can see here that Bauer has used pencil because you've got the fine pencil lines and etchings, and as he's worked out, he's added bits and bobs to it. We have a load of people there. Now I'm going to let you view this through my magnifying glass. Can you see in the distance there's a crucified person there? So we already have, there is a religious aspect to it. These are not rocks as I thought they were. These are people. They are crowds, and there's an altar up here with candles around it. Isn't that amazing? The added information you can see when you truly study a card. In fact, where the altar is, just in front of it, there does appear to be a person standing. Is that person leading the mass? Is that person, when I say mass, I mean masses as in people, not mass as in Catholic mass. Let's have a look. Can you see there, just in the centre there of that circle, there's a person standing there underneath the crucified person. Why is this person butt naked? Let's have a look. What does it say? The Eight of Chalices. A man stands naked, his face bowed, his body faces away. A crowd kneels before him, but their backs are turned to him. Their backs are turned to him. A woman turns her body perpendicular, making a statement. Now, if the body is perpendicular, and that is the statement, I can't see her making a particular statement to him. She does appear to be kneeling in prayer. Meaning, turning away from the mainstream, time to journey beyond what is known, a change of heart. That is very different. Here's our 9, our 10, page, knight, our queen, and I think you will love this king every bit as much as I do. Our king, that fatherly, grandfatherly figure, taking time out with the children, having compassion, having love, leading by example, teaching, and just being wholly positive in an individual's life. Look at that. Isn't that just happiness? You can see the happiness on the child's face. Again, we'll use the magnifying glass here because it's not very clear on the camera, as I keep repeatedly saying. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And you know how sometimes granddads can think they're really being patient, this child is following them, the child adores them, but sometimes granddad wants to be on his own and his face can say, but the child doesn't read that and the granddad doesn't chase the child away. There's that patience, there's that, oh God, come on then. Oh, for goodness sake, child, you're still here. Now, they're really lovely. And next we have Pentacles, and they are called Pentacles in this deck. And here's 1, 2. Oops, why am I holding it sideways on? 3. 4. 5. You can actually see these pieces of art, take these pieces of art and associate them so far to the traditional Rider-Waite Smith meanings. Although I'm sure if we read the book, we could find that there are little twists and changes, which is nice. And then even better when you use what you're getting to enhance your readings and make the cards mean more to you. I really do like what I've got in my hand at the moment. I don't actually know if I will use these for reading with others, because what I'm getting from some of these now have been very personal to me, and particularly the Death card. I found that quite a comforting looking card. This is our 9 of Pentacles. Our 10 of Pentacles. Do you know, I don't know if you have, if you've heard of the saying that a child's not just raised by the family but by the community around it. And this is so much in keeping with that, you know. Isn't that lovely? The child on the knee of the person there, everybody involved in the positive growth and progression of that child's development. Here's our page. Our knight. Our queen. And you know, in these cards it's very easy to miss the minute in it. You can see the bigger creatures and you need to look down from the faces here to find the queen, who appears very small yet very powerful, all-knowing, and a leading light to those that are around her. And again here with our king. Just look at that. And then we come to wands, and I will just check that they are called wands in this little white book. They are indeed. This is our ace, or our number 1. Do you know, my eye just caught that there. If you look here, again, we'll use the magnifying glass because I'm not sure if you can see it. You're focusing sort of on the light creature and the dark creature here, but there are actually creatures peeping around. At first I thought they were rocks, but then if you look, they have faces, they have features, peering around from a tree. There's our little man and there's our queen. Let's see what they say about this ace. A young blonde queen wanders in the dark. She wanders in the dark wood alone. Many faces appear from the shadows, ready to scare her, meaning recognize your power Inspiration is at hand and a burst of energy. Wow. Here's our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is very similar to how we know it. 7, 8. 8 is actually amazing. 8 is amazing. Remember, as I said, look at every little piece in the image. There are little specks at the bottom, there are birds flying. There are actually little creatures at the bottom of this card in shadow. Again, we'll use the magnifying glass so that you can see that, see them there. And look, we have people riding on the body. There's somebody standing there on the bottom of that person that's carrying them. Is that their guide, their heavenly spirit guide, carrying them, directing them, leading them, advising them? Speed, carrying them quickly to the next stage. Here's our 9. Our 10. Oh gosh, that's beautiful. There are so many faces in this card. Now, it's just crammed with faces and people. Isn't that just amazing? Here we have our page, which reminds me of Little Boy Blue Can Blow Your Horn. Our knight. Our queen. And our king. And then finally, we have our swords. Ace or 1 of swords. 2. Wow, now this 2 of swords is very different to what we're used to seeing when it comes to swords. Usually we have somebody blindfolded and swords crossing each other, decisions to be made, you know, a crossroads in our path. Well, let's have a look what it says here for this. We have somebody here about to slay a serpent. So let us find the swords and have a look what this actually says. There we go. A large raven. Oh no, that's ace, sorry. A man holds his sword high in the air above him. He's ready to slay the long dragon-stroke snake which has slithered across his path, meaning being faced with a block. Make a clear decision now. Sit still and clear your intent. I can see where that meaning is coming from. However, he's about to slay a serpent. If he sits still to contemplate his intent, he's going to be eaten by that snake. To me, this would say that I would have to be that little bit quicker in making my mind up about the actions I'm going to take, about the dangers or the hurdles that lie ahead. Am I going to slay this beast, or am I going to run from it? Am I going to get over this hurdle? Am I going to conquer it? Or am I going to turn away and take a different route? You know, but I think if you were to sit still in order to make our decision, we would be the ones that would be slayed. I don't know. Then we have our 3 of swords, our 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, excuse me, I keep seeing a little light flying above me, and before anybody thinks that I have an orb flying around me, it's not. It's a little moth-like creature that keeps flying in the light coming through the skylights in this room. Our page, our knight, our queen, and finally our king. Now this deck has been created by Los Garibo, and you have that standard Los Garibo cardstock. These will be lovely for riffle shuffling, and do you know, they're going to be lovely for you to explore. These are going to be like a little mini adventure. Well, not even mini. These are going to be like an adventure. You know, we all love delving into our cards, doing deep dives, but I think not even necessarily deep dives, but research into art, research into the artist. If you like that sort of thing, if you're like me and you like to sort of go down a different path and say, do you know something, that was really interesting, I want to know more about this author, this artist, I want to know more about where he painted, what he did, what did he create. And all this, I have to say, came from watching a walkthrough on another channel. When I saw the cards, I also decided, I said earlier on, I wanted to look further at the art and where he was coming from, because I read later that very, very sadly in 1918, both John Bauer and his family were killed in an aeroplane accident. I need to double check that, don't quote me on that, but I'm sure that's what I read. Now this is the book that I decided to invest in. An illustrated treasury of Swedish folk and fairy tales by John Bauer. Well, the art's by John Bauer, and the stories by the looks of it, I'm not sure. We've got John Bauer signed here at the end of this painting here. Who can recognise this? That's our Queen of, was it our Queen of Pentacles? Where she's sitting there being the guiding light for others to follow. So much clearer on the front of the cover. And on the back, I'm not sure, I think we do have this one. Would that be, it wasn't, no, it's not Judgment. I'm just trying to think. Well, I'll be researching, I'll be comparing and looking at what stories that this comes with. It's a lovely big hardback book, as you can see. And here we have, what, oh, it was the Hierophant, wasn't it? Let me just find the Hierophant card. Yes, I thought I'd seen it in the beginning. So there we go. There's our image. Isn't that just lovely? I do apologise, there's a neighbour's dog barking somewhere. Makes a change, that's not my own dogs. So the book begins with the life of John Bauer. So we get to learn more about the artist within this book of folklore, of folk and fairy tales. We then have the stories are then broken into different genres. So we have trolls and tomtes. I'm not sure what a tomte is, T-O-M-T-E-S, but we'll be able to look at that. We then have brave girls and boys, and then stories about kings and queens. So there's a whole host of stories under each section. There you go. That must be a self-portrait, is it, of John Bauer? Yes, it is a self-portrait of John Bauer, the life of John Bauer. I'm not going to read the whole lot to you because we would be here for some time. You can see where all the cards have come from, definitely. I'm just going to read the first very small paragraph. John Bauer was one of the world's greatest illustrators of fairy tales. He was born in 1882 in the Swedish city of Jönköping, surrounded by the forests of Småland. His father came from southern Germany. His mother was Swedish. As a boy, he showed an interest in and a gift for drawing. He was uninterested in schoolwork and spent much of his time daydreaming and doodling. Indeed, his schoolbooks were filled with caricatures, many of his teachers to their dismay. Been there, done that. The young Bauer also displayed a deep feeling for nature and often made long excursions on foot, alone, through the deep forests that line Lake Vatern, on the shore of which Jönköping is situated. Central to the region's myths and legends, many of which he was told by his superstitious maternal grandmother, was a belief in nature's incredible power. When Bauer was 16 years old, he went to Stockholm seeking to enter the Royal Academy of Arts. Despite his great talent, he was too young to be admitted. He had to wait 2 more years, during which time he further improved his skill as a draftsman at Caleb Altin's School for Painters. At the Academy, Bauer received a traditional art education, attending lectures on classical art, perspective, anatomy and art history. He soon gained respect among both teachers and pupils. Bauer drew with serene and sure strokes, with spirited detail, and with a pronounced feeling for form. The noted Swedish painter Gustaf Cederström later compared the preciseness of Bauer's student sketches with the drawings of Dürer and Holbein, and also said, "His art is what I would call great art. In his almost miniaturized works, he gives an impression of something much more powerful than many monumental artists can accomplish on acres of canvas." So isn't that lovely? That's the beginning. Then it talks about some of his art, and it ends here. In 1918, he, Esther and Bengt, only 3 years old, were on their way to their new home in Stockholm. Bauer had booked passage by boat because of a recent train accident that had been in the news. The Bauers were among the passengers of the steamer Bra, which on a dark November night sank in Lake Vättern. All on board were drowned. John Bauer was only 36 years old, and the world had lost one of its most exciting, creative visionaries. So it wasn't a plane, sorry, it was a boat on which he, his wife and his young child died. Well, I think this is a phenomenal collection. His deck, I feel, is something that is to be cherished, not only for its tarot strength and ability to pull out intuitive readings and intuitive interpretations, but I feel predominantly for the phenomenal artwork. I hope you've enjoyed this on John Bauer, and I hope that this sort of thing gives you the urge to look at different decks, look at how the creator or the artist came to create what they did, why they did, and perhaps share what you learn with the rest of us. So I am going to head off now. I've chatted for far too long, and I want to go for a bike ride. So take care. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you soon.